We have caught up with Brian White on the road. Where are you in the world, Brian, right now?
I am in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Today I'll be driving out to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and continuing my trek eastward en route to Michigan for the big Tesla Owners Club of Michigan event in Muskegon on the 15th.
On the 15th. Okay, so the 15th is
Saturday.
Saturday. Okay. So everybody that's in Muskegon and the environs, they know where to show up, huh?
Come join me.
All righty, cool enough about that. Well, okay, over the course of the last week, I've been following you, Brian, which of course I've been following you for years, but I've been following you around, and you had a show on the other day that I found fascinating, and I thought we could revise it here. You know, have you ever been revised before?
I'm sure I have.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're gonna take a trip down memory lane for you, but for everybody else, it'll be brand new. You have had your first ride in the most incredible vehicle on the market this year, maybe this decade, maybe this century. Tell us about your ride in the Cybertruck.
Well, I'll give you a little scoop. In addition to the ride that I got in the Cybertruck, I then got to drive a Cyber Beast a few days later.
A Cyber Beast.
Very exciting stuff. These are becoming very common. So just yesterday I was in Salt Lake City, and I was meeting with a friend, and he's seen 38 Cybertrucks. He keeps track every time he sees one. And then when we were done, he dropped me back the supercharger, and there's number 39 just pulled up. So these are getting out there. So I had a chance to ride in it and drive it. And I'll tell you the first thing is that it is very quiet in there. Unless you want it to be very loud, in which case it is very loud. It gets real loud if you want it to. You just crank up the music and have a good time.
Yeah. Is it the most incredible stereo you've ever heard or not?
Well, the problem is we're spoiled by other Tesla sound systems. Right. It is slightly better than the other ones I've heard, but they're all very, very good. So you get to a point where you're already at a 9.5. Yeah. You're running out of room for that 10. And the Cyber Beast I was in didn't have Spotify or anything. So we were kind of going from you didn't get the full picture that it would have needed for me to understand it. We were using YouTube, which doesn't have the same audio fidelity. So there was an opportunity to first ride in it. And the first thing to notice is it doesn't feel like a truck. It feels like a car. It's very smooth. It's very comfortable. It's not bouncy. My brother has an F-150, and when it's not loaded down, it is bouncy. It is uncomfortable to do long drives. I've rented a couple trucks in Texas when they didn't have the car that I was supposed to get, and everything in Texas is trucks. So of course they bump you all the way to a truck. And those were also bouncy and uncomfortable and disappointing. This felt very refined, very clean, very nice. But then when we drove the Cyber Beast, he said, do whatever you want to do. So at one point we put it in. I said, well, I imagine chill is still pretty aggressive. He goes, oh, no, it's not. Go ahead and punch it. So I punched it in chill, and it is not. It is chill. It is very, very chill. Okay. And I assume that's because when you're in that mode, you might have cargo, you might have goods in the back, you might have a trailer, and you really don't want it to be punchy. So we skipped straight up to beast mode, and on the on-ramp, gave it the beast experience, and what an experience it was. This would be, the fastest vehicle the quickest vehicle I've ever been in, other than a plaid. Sure. And plaids are upsettingly fast, disturbingly fast. I had a chance to drive a plaid a couple of weeks ago, and both Jan from TeslaFix and I were allowed to drive it. He went first, I held the camera, and then it was my turn, and I just couldn't. I'm sweaty, I'm clammy, I don't feel good. I'm in no condition to drive. They're like, that's disappointing for you. I'm like, it is a little disappointing. But I'm just not in a place emotionally to drive right now. So this is very quick, very fast. Then afterwards, we get off the highway, we get back home, and I say to my kids, what did you think of the road noise on the highway when we're going 70 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour? And they said, I didn't notice. I said, yeah, you didn't notice. I didn't notice either. I have no memory of that part. Normally on all-terrain tires, when you're going 75 miles an hour, it howls at you.
No.
But it was very quiet. It was a very refined feel. It is what I would expect for, $100,000. But it was that. The other thing is, and I don't know if this is the way the motors were designed, but when you really goose it, there is a little bit of whine to the motors. So it just adds a little bit of visceral excitement. So overall, yeah, it's fantastic. It desperately needs autopilot and FSD, which we've been told is coming with 12.5. Right. 12.4 is already being rolled out to employees. That should be hopefully going wider this week. Although I have seen from a very big account on X that these are dangerous, deadly things, and they need to not be running them on the road. I think that was from a Dan O'Dowd. Dan O'Dowd. Oh yeah, that's who it was.
Yes. Meanwhile, I don't know about your trip, but I know that in our house, the trips are interruption free. So I don't know what you're finding.
What I'm finding is my 12 dot experience has been ridiculously good. I have a viewer in Colorado who said that his experience in Colorado is very different, that it's not great here. And I said, give me some roads and I'll test them out while I'm there. Yeah. And he said, any roads, just test them. Last night on the drive from Denver to Colorado Springs, I got to experience what he's talking about. It was real bad. It repeatedly tried to dart off onto a exit only lane at 80 miles an hour, which was the speed limit in that area. Yeah. And it was terrifying. And sometimes you'd turn on the blinker and it would blink 20, 30 times and just not change lanes. I had it set to minimal lane changes. It kept changing lanes anyway. It tried to put me in the toll express lane at midnight when there's no one on the road and there's no traffic to be dodging. What are we doing here? Yeah. So it was, this is yesterday we're talking about. Yeah. So when looking for the remaining places where it doesn't work, I guess one edge case is the entire state of Colorado. Yes.
That's crazy. Okay, well, there you go, Elon. Get on it. So you also mentioned in either that video or another video that you saw people's minds being changed about Cybertruck. Yes. As a salesman my entire life, and I know you have a little experience in that realm too, what was it like? What happened as people either experienced or better understood their confusion or the myths? I don't have any idea. Let me know.
So Teresa from the Tesla Owners Club of Washington brought her vehicle out and just put it on display. The store asked if she would do that because they don't have a display model at that location. And she was happy to bring it, happy to let people touch it, get inside of it, leave their fingerprints for all time. And there were a lot of people who saw that it was bigger than they thought, and that was good, or smaller than they thought, and that was good. But a lot of people who didn't get it before, because you can't really understand something this weird until you see it in person. There were a lot of minds changed, I would say, for sure. One thing I did get to experience though was just plain hostility. Just for no reason at all. I'm just going to be hostile. And when we were driving the Cyber Beast around, one guy in a blue pickup truck gave us the old one finger salute as he was turning at the light for no reason. So I don't know how this affects you, but okay. Yeah. And then when we got back to my house and we're standing next to it, a guy drove by and yelled, "Disgusting." And
well, at least you can understand what he means by that one. The other guy,
I was very confused because I had my shirt on at the time. So that was weird. But I guess he could see through it. I don't know. Now this hostility reminds me of some of what you would see in like the early 80s towards Japanese brands.
Yeah.
Oh, how dare you?
Yeah.
But at least that has a sense of patriotism about it. You could say, well, you're destroying American jobs, except that some of the most American made vehicles in America are made by Honda and Acura and Volkswagen, and of course Tesla, but that's not surprising. Tesla's an American company. So the hostility is just weird. I just don't get it. It's like a mental illness is what it is.
Okay. And what about the, this, did you drive it long enough to be, the Cybertruck, did you drive it long enough to have a chance to think about stalks and turning signals and things like that?
Yes. I'm still not a fan of having them stockless. And in a roundabout, I just did not use them. And Ryan was gracious enough to remind me that this is my truck. You're going to use the blinkers. Use them at the very least so that the cameras come on.
Yeah.
Like, all right. And then last night in my car, I was going through a pretty complicated roundabout. And I was like, I'm going to see how it handles this roundabout, because this is a tricky one in a little town in the middle of nowhere. And it handled it perfectly. It did not signal once. And I was like, very human of you. Very human. The thing I wanted to say about the drivability is the first thing I said was, I know a tight drive-through at Starbucks that I want to go through with this big old truck.
Wow. Because
I feel like I'm going to rub my curb my rash reels every time I go through it. And he said, you're going to love this. You're going to be surprised. And we went through and it felt like nothing because the rear steer just works. It just makes it feel so much smaller. And of course the people at the window were also very impressed to see something new and exciting and different. So that was fun.
All right. Well, as long as I've got you here and I've got a minute left, anything else, any other impressions on your road trip or things in the news that have been striking you one way or the other about Cybertruck or full self-driving, which are kind of the subjects we're on?
Well, I will say that with self-driving and the road trip, it is amazing. The people who say, you can't road trip in an EV, all I can assume is either they've never tried, or they're lying, or they've never done it in a Tesla, because the things you have to combat are boredom and mental fatigue. And in terms of boredom, if you've got Spotify, you've got access to anything you can dream up and a bunch of suggestions that you can't. I listen to hours of podcasts. I listen to music that I knew of but hadn't really explored, and it makes the time go a lot quicker. But the longest drives I've ever done before this road trip were 12 hours. I never went over 12 hours. Yeah. And at the end of 12 hours, you'd need a day to recover. Right. Because your brain is fried. My first day, I think I did 13, 14 hours. And yesterday I did another 11, 12 hours. And it's fine. I'm not destroyed. At the end of that time, you're tired, as you would be with anything, but you're not, at the edge of your very last nerve. Right. Today I'm going to do another 10, 12 hours. Tomorrow I'm going to do another, 6 hours. Mm-hmm. And then I'll be in Michigan. Who knows? But it's so easy. And the idea that, I don't want to have to stop every few hours to charge. You need to stretch your legs. You need to rest your mind. And one beauty is you can't drive distracted. FSD will not let you pull out your phone and drive distracted. You have to stop. Right. So that means if I want to have a phone call, I can do that hands-free. And I've done that. I've made some phone calls instead of sending some emails. But it means that by the time I get to a charger, I've got a lot of catching up to do. And by the time I'm caught up, it's time to go. And, you should probably use the bathroom, maybe grab a beverage. Yes. Yeah. So both ends of the fluid spectrum there.
Yeah. So, there is a little bit of mommy thing going on with the charging stations as well. I don't know if you've run into this yet. We pulled off the highway one night to, I think, maybe get a beverage. And we were down to, 45 miles or something, left on the charge. And there was a charging station within a mile. And we're like,
Mhm.
nah, we can make it home. It wouldn't let us get back on the freeway.
Really?
It wouldn't let us navigate. It wouldn't let us navigate. It would
Mm.
only navigate to the
Mm.
charging station.
I will say that I've got some more learning to do on how to tell it which charging stations I want to go to, because it definitely wants to charge a lot sooner than I would.
I see.
Sometimes it'll say, oh yeah, you'll get to this you'll get to this one at 50% and just do 5 minutes there. I'm really not ready to stop. And people have said, well, you just drive past it. Right. I'm not driving. It's driving.
It's driving. Yes.
And it's not going to listen to me. So you can remove charging stops, but I've got some learning to do on that. In the comments, you guys can tell me how best to manage that.
Okay.
And it'll keep, of course, directing me to level 2 or version 2 chargers instead of version 3s.
Yeah.
But yeah, gotta.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about driving a computer. It's a computer, and learning how to use your computer, as we all know, is a continuous learning experience.
It is.
It never, ever ends.
Yep.
All right, Brian. Hey, thank you so much for bringing us up to date on Cybertruck. You've now become a beast because you've driven a beast.
I am an official beast. Yes.
That's right. Okay. All right. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.